if you have some unruly symptom or your cycle isn't where you want it to be, it's always birth control. And that's crazy. But for a lot of people, they're like, I never had these issues. And then I got on birth control and then I got off and then somehow I had it. There's birth control induced PCOS. She was told she needed a gestational carrier. She needed a surrogate. She had tried IVF 6 times, all failed. Now she has twins. So it worked. And both of them took. So it was crazy.
Dr. Sammy, thank you so much for being here today.
Super excited. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So for people who might not know you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and your story to like naturopathic medicine and kind of where you're at right now in life.
Okay, well, I'll try to keep that short and sweet. But my journey to becoming a naturopathic doctor, I feel like for many of us, we all like struggled with our own health at some point. Mine was when I was a kiddo, kind of sick, to the point where I was on like oxygen treatments multiple times a day. So just really, really not um, living optimally from a young
Yeah.
age. And honestly, my mom's like my hero in the sense of she was like, there has to be a better way. She found naturopathic medicine, and kind of the rest is history. I always kind of went back and forth because I was like, ew, med school sounds terrible. And I decided I wanted to do it anyway. Thank God I did, because it led me here. And I now love my job. I specialize in fertility care, hormone health, gut health, and definitely is something that I was meant to do. I feel excited about it. I like to learn, and then to be honest, I feel good at it, which is also nice as well. But
Yeah.
that's a really short version. There's a lot that's happened over my life, but um, definitely being sick as a kid kind of led me down the path that I'm currently on.
Were your family members like woo woo, like naturopathic medicine, or were they like traditional medicine until you had to go naturopathic, or like how did that route like start?
Yeah, so I think my mom and dad were always on like kind of the different side of things. I think they liked conventional medicine, but my mom and my dad both got a degree in exercise science, but this was like before like exercise and like working out was really a thing. Like my dad was a personal trainer before personal trainers like ever took off, right? My mom
Yeah.
was interested in exercise physiology and training people in a very scientific way. And now that's a thing, but it wasn't back then, right? And so I think they always kind of had a knack for if this doesn't work, let's find a better way type view. But I remember my dad being like, "Oh, that's woo woo," but like I trust you to like to my mom, and it was like, "Okay, let's see what happens."
Yeah. Well, I think you have to. Like, I think that over time, like traditional medicine just kind of like it has its time and place, but like it's not the solution for everybody. And as we evolve, like even like you and I have worked together, I've hired you for many personal reasons and stuff like my gut issues. We've done GI map testing and like my hormones and stuff like that. And yeah, I went to traditional medicine for some of those things, but like I was told to just get back on birth control. And like for me at that time, I was like, hold up, like I'm not doing this. Like that I got off birth control after being on it for 9 years. Like I'm not getting back on it as a solution to all of these issues that I now had because I was on it for 9 years. So like then I was like, okay, well I'm going to go a little bit woo woo naturopathic now because I need someone to listen to me. I need someone to figure out what's going on. So sometimes too it's like those like interesting stories that it's like sometimes it doesn't have to be either like but it's like oh yeah I had this own personal experience or my family brought up like that or you know maybe they got sick and like they had to go naturopathic route. And I think it's so interesting that we have traditional versus like western medicine versus like eastern medicine. Like it's really important to have different remedies for different things depending on what's at play, right? So I love
Yeah, I
your
mean,
story.
yeah, everyone there's a different method that's always going to work best for someone, right? Conventional medicine definitely has its place, but so does naturopathic medicine, so does Chinese
Yes.
medicine, so does homeopathy, so does
Mhm.
physical medicine. Like all of these things play a massive a role in health and healing, and we just have to kind of learn how to utilize them correctly.
Absolutely. And I think it's good, like, as a woman to be able to have different options because I feel
Yeah.
like obviously we're both in women's healthcare and a lot of women get the short end of the stick. And I think it's
Mhm.
good to have options and to keep your options open and also just to be informed yourself because informed care is the best kind of care. Otherwise, you're just always going to be doing what you're always told to do. Which leads me to my next question. So, um, we've been seeing a rise in infertility. So, what are some of the common rules or like blueprints or things to do that women are taught growing up about their bodies or fertility that aren't really accurate? For example, like, oh, your cycle should be this many days, or oh, like, I mean, we grew up in the era that birth control was the thing, right? Like, you have a bad
Yeah.
period, get on birth control. You have acne, get on birth control. So, like, what myths do you see most often?
Yeah. I mean, I think one is that when you're actually a teenager, that your period's supposed to be like regular immediately. I think that's a myth because a lot of people think that, oh, if your period's not regular when you're like a teenager and you've had a few cycles, they're like, oh, you need to get on birth control because it's irregular. And I'm like, why would it all of a sudden be regular? You have these hormones come in, your body's like, whoa, changes are occurring. Honestly, it'd be quite impressive if it was super regular, right? Like,
Yeah.
I would think,
Yeah.
wow, your system is like really honed in.
Yeah.
But for majority of people, I feel like that's not the case. So I feel like a myth is part of that. Now, if you're a teenager and you're having excruciating cramps or um, severe mood swings, around your cycle, that's a different conversation. But yes, is birth control the only option? Absolutely not. And I think that is also a myth is that if you have some unruly symptom or your cycle isn't where you want it to be, it's always birth control. And that's crazy in my mind.
Yeah.
Now that we think about it, which
Yeah.
by the way, I was one of those that got put on it, even though our family still had more like natural mindset, right? Like
Yeah.
it can happen to anybody, especially because you said we're like the generation of it, I swear.
Yeah. I know. Well, like, it was a thing, like, when I was in high school, it was, like, a just, like, common question, like, the doctor was like, "Do you want on it?" And I'm like, "I mean, my friends are on it." Like, I didn't know any
Yeah,
better,
yeah,
right? Like, I mean, my
it's just
fam like, my parents were like, "Why are you on it?" Or, "Why are you choosing to get on it?" Uh, like, it wasn't really their decision. I mean, it kind of is. They have that overarching, like, dominant decision, but it's like, "Well, I'm going to college and my friends are on it." It's like, I guess I have to get on it. Like, I didn't know any better, which is
yeah,
kinda crazy.
I know, and they don't explain any of the risks to you either, or most of the time even ask important questions. Like, you're absolutely not supposed to give it to someone who gets, like, migraines. Do you know the
Mm,
amount of people that get migraines or have headaches that are like, "Oh, I was on birth control for 10 years." And I'm like, "Hold up." That's, like, really severe and really risky because birth control has a thing with blood clots. We don't need to get into all that technicality, but, like,
yeah.
that's, like, really important. And those things get missed a lot. Um,
Mhm,
and so, yeah, that's probably one of the big myths is that, like, you're just gonna have a regular cycle initially and that birth control is the fix all.
mhm.
But it's awesome because now that's, I feel like, totally debunked, and I think a lot of people know that. I think the
Good.
next big one is that fertility wise, right? Is that the moment you start trying, like, you're gonna get pregnant. I feel like we're like told
Yeah.
like you have sex, this equals pregnancy,
This
right?
equals baby.
Yeah. And one, that's, I mean, clearly not the case. But two, no one knows how to either check their cycle or prepare their body for pregnancy. And there's like
Mhm.
so many things that I believe that people should be doing before that they don't. And if you live a generally healthy lifestyle, you probably don't need to prep that much. But if
Mhm.
you are looking inwards and you really evaluate, like, do I live a healthy lifestyle? And if the answer is, I don't know, or maybe, that's definitely something to like reflect on in just a sense
Yeah.
of you can do whatever you want, but while getting ready to try to conceive, like the actions that you do, the things that you consume, this amount of sleep you get, like that's actually all going to impact future baby, pregnancy, and even delivery. So
Yeah.
I kind of went on a
I
rant there.
I love that no, I love that you just brought that up because that was one of my questions, and that is, like, how important is preconception care, and how far in advance do women need to start?
Yeah, so I'll even say, like, I think 6 months would be great, but minimum of 3 is my advice. If, say, someone's listening and they're like, "Well, I'm actually currently," that's okay too. Changing your
Mhm.
habits is always going to make a difference. But I do like a 3 to 6 month window. That gives time for your body to kinda catch up with your actions.
Gotcha. Okay, so, like, what kind of lifestyle choices and, like, habits are we needing to switch to? What does good nutrition look like? Or, like, supplements or, sleep habits? Like, what are we talking about that make the biggest difference for someone to 6 months, planning or 3 months planning? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, the basics, right? Diet, being from like, I love the 80-20 Mediterranean diet. I think some
Mhm,
practitioners were maybe a little bit more strict than I am. I'm like
mhm.
80-20. I think it's okay to go out and eat pizza.
Yeah,
Just like if you eat pizza, like have a vegetable before. I'm like, you can kind
yeah,
of like blend those things and then just don't
balance.
eat pizza every night, right? Like there's just
Right, yes.
like you can have that balance.
One
But I'm
piece of
also
pizza is
like,
not gonna kill you.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, I like pizza. I tell my patients, my clients, I'm like, I like pizza. Like, I eat pizza, but I'll have some salad before because that fills you up, and then it actually stabilizes your blood sugar better than if you just were eating a slice of pizza. So order how you do things, like all of that makes a big difference. Also, then afterwards go for a walk, right? That's
Yeah,
great for your blood sugar. So there's little tips and tricks for diet like that, but most of the time I'm like eating whole foods, eating mostly from home. Like those are definitely going to be the best.
you have way more control that way. You know what's
Yes,
going in.
way more.
Way more control with what's on the end of your fork is what I always say. I'm like, when you're out to eat, people are cooking with a lot of things that might not agree with your body, especially if you're used to eating at home. Like, if you're trying to have a baby, like, don't go change that lifestyle to the opposite of what you were already doing before.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. And yeah, I mean, there's like in certain areas, like, we're in Scottsdale, so we're really blessed, right? We have restaurants where you go to and like they do list all the ingredients and there's, you know, it's all beef tallow fries and all this stuff. But the reality of it is, yeah, there's not a lot of great stuff in
Yeah,
restaurant food. But I
right.
like to eat out. I think it's part of a culture piece. And so it's just like that's where you just find that little balance.
Yeah. Which
And
also
then,
probably plays into like stress, right? Like, if you're going to be
oh yeah,
stressing over every little thing, like, okay, what's that going to do to the internal stress of your body?
right. And that kind of is another point because nowadays I feel like people almost like overcorrected as in it is in human
Mm,
nature, right? Like for a
right.
while everyone overcorrected and like everyone was working out like a crazy person and now everyone's like only Pilates and walking. And I'm like, I
I
love
know,
my
right?
Pilates, but like hit and weightlifting is great too. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's all or nothing. I think it's a lot of give and take, and you have to find what also feels best for you, like where
Yes.
you feel good. So sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error. But
Yeah.
yeah, so stress, we don't want to stress too much about it. Like environmental toxins are everywhere. They're going to be places, but just do the
Mhm.
best you can, right? My biggest tip would be once you run out of something, just replace it with something that you know is clean
Yeah.
because then it's
Don't
easy. It
go
goes
throw
down the
everything
line.
out.
Yeah, I mean, that's expensive and wasteful and very overwhelming because then you're like looking at the backs of everything immediately. It's just like once you run out of
Yeah.
something you need, see if it's clean. And if it's not, buy a different version. Like that's so
Yeah.
simple, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, drinking filtered water is going to be important. Reducing plastics as much as possible. That's a big one just because I know everyone talks about it, but a lot of people don't realize like everyone's like microplastics, but it's like, but why are those an issue? It's actually can falsely increase estrogen levels. Well, not falsely, it encourages your system to increase estrogen because it's an aromatase blocker, which aromatase promoter, excuse me, which essentially testosterone and estrogen are linked. So a lot of men, for example, will have very high estrogen levels if they're like drinking out of Keurigs, and then their testosterone will be low because it promoted that aromatase, taking it from testosterone
Wow.
to estrogen. So, like,
So don't
there's,
drink out of Keurig anymore, is what you're saying.
I tell people to get a stainless steel cup. So instead of a plastic cup, just do a stainless steel cup. Like fill it with your own coffee. It's cheaper that way. You can actually control the coffee that goes in there. You can get a really good organic, third party tested coffee, things like that. But they do make a difference. You'd be surprised. Like when I'll tell people to stop those, how their estrogen will all of a sudden like drop. It's kind of wild.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've even
Like
heard, like,
quickly.
using the actual Keurig machine too anymore. It's, like,
Yeah.
plastic and to go with, like, the pour over methods or cold brew or what's the other one? The filtration one.
French press. Oh,
French press. Yeah, French
yeah.
press.
Yes, fresh. Oh my god, now I can't say it. French press
Yeah,
is a great option because it's all metal, right?
yeah.
Yeah, anything that has like all the plastic pieces. There is a coffee maker. I forgot who it's by, but it's coming out. It's like all metal and everything.
I
But
saw that.
it's like
So
$400.
expensive. I'm like, "Why do you gotta make the good stuff so unattainable for people?" Like,
Like
that's
it's
the
wild.
sad part.
Eventually, it will be. Like in 2 years
Yes,
from now, it's totally
it
going to
will
be
be.
like $150. But right
Yeah.
now, it's the only one, and
It
they
costs
yeah.
so much to build it and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But when they are able to produce it on a bigger scale, that's going to lower the cost for everything as well. So it's just kind of like, it's definitely goes back and forth. And
Right.
I'm starting, and I've told you this, I'm starting another brand. So I've learned a lot on the manufacturing side. So like I have this like annoyance of that, but also an appreciation for like how much
Yeah.
things can build up when you're starting.
Oh my gosh, I know, especially when you're starting out, like, there's just all those upfront costs, and then you're like, "Wait, I just need to get it produced, I just need to be making money so I can pay myself back and replenish it." No, I get that.
Exactly. But yes,
Yeah,
a French press would be a great alternative. I think because that just eliminates all of the plastic,
right.
and you can still make a great cup of coffee, and it's perfect. It's just fine.
So
But
what is your opinion on coffee? Because there's
yeah,
all this thing about blood sugar and hormones and coffee first thing on an empty stomach. Like, tell me more about how are we feeling? Is it just coffee itself? Is it the caffeine on an empty stomach? Like, is it okay? Or are people gonna die if they keep doing that? Because I know a lot of people wake up and they look forward to their morning cup of coffee, including myself.
yeah. So there's so many factors, and I hate being that holistic doctor that's always like it depends, but it kind of
I
does
know. It
because
does.
coffee. So the issue with on the empty stomach that I don't like is that it's very acidic, and you're like pouring something acidic onto an already acidic environment. That's not really
Mhm.
great for our like mucus lining in our stomach, right? So I don't
Okay.
love that.
The real
Something,
education, because
yeah,
nobody tells you that. They're just like, "Don't do it," and then it's like, "Okay, but why?" Like
right. No, the why I tell every person I talk to, I go, if someone tells you to do something, if they don't know the reason why, don't listen to it. Like
Yes.
that's
Yes.
ridiculous. They should know
Oh
why.
my gosh.
Yeah, so that's one of them. A lot of times, like my grandmother loves her cup of coffee in the morning. She's 92 years old. She's never giving it up.
She's
She was
not.
starting no, right? Like she doesn't care. Her stomach though started upsetting her when she would
Yeah.
have it, and I was like, "Listen, Gigi, just pour a little bit of cream or half and half, and it fixed it." But that's because it makes it a little bit more basic, right? It's
Mm.
not as acidic because we have some fat in there. So
Yeah.
that can really help that piece. The other piece is that for some people who are already super wired, they talk about how if you just have a cup of coffee, that can just spike your cortisol, which is very true.
Mhm.
It probably doesn't happen as much for those who are so used to drinking coffee in the morning because it just becomes a regular part of your day. Um,
Right.
but and the other thing is that it can make a lot of people really anxious. And sometimes people will be like, coffee makes me anxious. And I'm like, have you tried to eat and then have your coffee or eat with your coffee? And does it do the same thing? So it's
Mhm.
really just individual base. I do usually recommend eating either while you have your coffee or, um, eat and then you have your coffee, or at least have like something to just kind of, I like to say, create a buffer, right?
Yes.
But ultimately, if you feel okay and you don't feel jittery and you don't have hormone issues and you are okay, like I'm also not going to be the person that says stop, because if you feel
Yeah.
really good, you also have to listen to your system.
Well, it's so multifactorial. Everybody's
Mhm.
issues are multifactorial. Like, this one small thing is not going to be the deal breaker.
Right. And also
Like you're saying,
it'll
it's 80/20. It's balance.
yeah, 80/20. And it depends on um, you know, also like the type of coffee. So I always say like organic coffee is good. We do like does have a tendency to get moldy pretty quick, right? So like an airtight container to store your coffee in, and like make sure your coffee's third party tested, and like
Mhm.
expiration dates on coffee actually matter because there's more likely to be mold even if it was already tested and everything, right? So
Mhm.
little things like that are little nuances, but they can make a big difference. And so if it's your
Absolutely.
treat that you like, that's important to remember. And then the amount, right? So some people are like, I had 2 cups of coffee in the morning. And I'm like, how big are the cups of coffee, right? Two 16-ounce cups are going to be very
Of
different
cold
from two
brew.
eight
It's like
ounces. Yeah.
800 milligrams of caffeine later. I'm like, no wonder you don't feel good.
Yes. So that also matters too. Like, are you waking up and like having a small 6 to 8 ounce cup? That's, maybe 100 milligrams, or are you having a lot of coffee?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
This is so good. And for the listeners out there, like, I know that we're all probably women, tired, and we need our coffee. And who doesn't love a good yap session with a cup of iced coffee? Like, I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it
Yeah.
up.
And that's where you just
Or
like again
matcha.
find
Matcha.
balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Matcha is great too. I love it. That one's probably a little bit easier on the stomach just because it's normally accompanied by like a fat, right? Everyone makes like matcha lattes and stuff. So there's usually like milk. So
Yeah.
that's
No
always
one's eating grass off of the ground for no
yeah,
reason.
exactly.
We're putting
Exactly.
something in it.
Yeah. There's something there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I could talk about coffee honestly for a while because I've had so many people ask me questions about it. But my recommendation, at least for preconception care, is just keeping it under 200 milligrams and then experimenting with it and see where you feel best. Some people are like, I notice no difference between like breakfast and um, you know, having it when I wake up. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
As long as you have a little cream in there, we're not hurting your stomach lining. And then some people are like, wow, that changed my life. I'm like, okay, cool too. Like when you're gonna be
Yeah.
doing it
Absolutely. So I have a lot of questions, obviously, but I want to start with this one. So, how much of infertility do you think is actually influenced by lifestyle factors versus like a medical condition? Like something truly wrong. And I definitely want to get into like male factor infertility and like female factor infertility because I know there's a big role in both. So let's just take it for the first question first before we go into the
yeah. Honestly, yeah, like one of those questions, it's so hard because like you can talk
I
about
know.
different parts of it forever. But
Hmm.
that's actually a really good question because for me, I think I see majority of like it's actually in a hormonal issue or they have a gut infection or something. But that's because I tend to be like the Hail Mary. They've tried
Right.
everything. They've dove into the diet and lifestyle. Their diet lifestyle is cleaner than mine. Like they have done
Yeah.
everything. So most of the time, the people that I see, diet lifestyle definitely probably played a role into getting them to where they were at. But there is usually a medical condition associated,
Hmm.
whether it's not there's a technical name or I'm just over here finding like less than optimal values. With that being said, like the global like epidemic of it, right? Because now
Yeah.
it's everywhere. Fertility, like it's dropping drastically. Um, that is where I feel like it's a lot more diet and lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Because diet and lifestyle also though can trigger these other
Yeah.
conditions for occurring, right? Like PCOS is actually very common, but most of the time you don't just like get your period and have PCOS. For some people that is the case. I'm not going to, deny that. I have people that are like I've had these issues since high school, right? But
Hmm.
for a lot of people they're like I never had these issues and then I got on birth control and then I got off and then somehow I had it. There's birth control induced PCOS. But honestly, like
Wow.
anything can trigger your genetics to all of a sudden express slightly differently, right? So, another example of something that people really know a lot about is going to be the thyroid, right? Hypothyroidism. It's very much genetically linked. However, you don't just wake up one day usually and have a thyroid issue. It seems like that, but most of the time it's like oh, you got really sick, you got in a car accident, there's a really stressful issue. There's usually like a trigger that
Yeah.
sends your body into that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your genes are expressing a slightly different way. Not
Mhm.
that it can get really complicated. And sorry, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent with that. Long
That's
story short is
good.
like I know, right? The diet and lifestyle can trigger some of those other things, but I also want to have a caveat because a lot of people in fertility are like, it's my fault, and they feel a lot of pressure. Still not your
Yeah.
fault. You know nothing about it. This is how our world is. How are
Yeah.
you supposed to know any different? We were not
Right.
taught any different, right? So I just
Yeah.
like to say that because sometimes I feel like we have to be a little delicate in the sense of like A plus B equals C, because it's not as simple as that when it comes to hormones and
Yeah.
specifically fertility.
Well, yeah, most people don't realize the connection between their hormones, fertility, their gut health until it becomes a problem. So can you break that down for us and talk about like, okay, so you said, okay, maybe their fertility is from a gut infection. Like, what does that
Mhm.
mean? Like, how,
Yeah.
when people go to you and they're like, and you're like, oh, I'm going to test your gut, and all these people are like, what do you mean? Like, no other doctor has tested my gut. Like, what is that? Like, what are you looking at?
Yeah, which honestly blows my mind because like this is okay, in the conventional world they go off of studies, right? Double blind placebo studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like okay, we treat off that. There are multiple studies done that say H. pylori can actually cross into the cervical mucus. So H. pylori lives in the stomach, but somehow it gets into the cervical mucus and can actually impact sperm motility, so how it swims to the fallopian tube, and
Oh,
cause an issue with obviously the sperm getting to where it needs to get to implant into the egg, right? And not only does it cause with that issue, but like the egg is really picky. So if it like hurts the motility, the egg's gonna like pick up on that and doesn't want bad sperm. The egg wants
oh,
good
she's
sperm.
picky too.
Oh, she is picky. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just picture, yeah.
No idea. She's like, no, get out of
Oh, yeah,
here.
she's not picking any Joe Schmo. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah.
It's like the what's that scrub? I want no scrub. Scrub
Yeah.
can't get enough from me. She's like, no, get out of here. You're a scrub.
Yeah. She's like, you're a scrub. No, but like that's exactly that's the egg theme song, I guess.
My God.
Yeah, so she's like, no. So that's H. pylori. That is just H. pylori. That is one thing that can go on in the gut. One thing. H. pylori can be passed also from partner to partner. So if you have it and you heal things up, but your partner still has it, that could still be an issue.
Mm.
So that's kind of where it comes into like
How
treating
is it
partners can
passed?
be really
Like
important.
saliva?
Like, yeah, it's the fecal oral route if we're going to get technical, but yeah, kissing,
Oh, yeah.
food, all of that good stuff.
Okay.
Also, like,
Wow.
if, yeah, and like I said, we could go on a tangent about H.
Yeah.
pylori, but H. pylori is also not very easy to get rid of. The more I'm in practice, the harder I'm seeing. Like, people are also thinking like one gut treatment, like, just fixes everything. I'm seeing, no, we need to do it 2 to 3 times sometimes. And then that solves it, but kind of makes sense if you think about it, because how long have you had it? You have probably no idea. And then there are nuances to treatment. Like, as a practitioner, you're doing the best you can with the information you have, but there are hidden virulence factors, biofilms, and if you do too much or too little, that can maybe not complete the treatment or deplete your actual good bacteria. So there's just kind of a lot that goes
Wow.
into it. And so sometimes it's going to take a few times, right?
Yeah.
So that's just H. pylori. That's not even
Yeah.
the whole gut. That's like
I'm
one
like,
thing.
the gut is so complex.
Very complex. And the more I practice, the more important I think it becomes. But it also is 70% of your immune system. Your immune system being optimal is very important in pregnancy, like
Mhm.
very important. Um, again, a short version of that is that egg and sperm meet, right? They create an embryo, and that is technically a foreign object because there is dad's sperm, right? Your
Yeah.
body is trained to attack foreign objects. So your immune system has to be in a good enough place where it can learn and understand to downregulate so it doesn't attack the sperm. It's why a lot of pregnant women get sick
Mhm.
a lot. Their immune system is just like not as on alert
Strong.
as it usually
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But it's also why people with autoimmune conditions feel a lot better when they're pregnant usually, because their immune system's calmed down.
Mm.
So that's 70% of that takes place in the gut, right? Like a lot of people who like test positive for autoimmune conditions, if you just heal the gut, a lot of times they go in remission or resolve or like look like they're like, what autoimmune condition? Like your numbers are
Yeah.
fine
Under
now. It's
control.
crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and I mean, and then it's, you know, where you absorb your micronutrients and your macronutrients to be able to build hormones. And it's where your microbiome is, and your microbiome, like, you know, we're medical professionals, so to get graphic, like where your anus and your
Yeah.
vagina is are very close. And no matter
Yeah.
how well you wipe, those bacteria are still interacting, right? Those environments are still
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And that's going to impact implantation. So you can just see
Wow.
how, like, those are just a few things, and it can just absolutely impact so many different things or variables when it comes to fertility.
Yeah. So you're talking a lot about like minor things, right? Like small little changes of this or like your gut autoimmune or your immunity, the way you wipe, right? Like all of these like minute things. So when it comes down to like infertility, and I am so just like ignore my ignorance on this because obviously I've never been trying to conceive or anything yet. So um when people go IUI or IVF route, like have they addressed these things yet? And like when they do those routes, like why are those sometimes unsuccessful independent of like these things that we're talking about, like their immune system or their gut health or their vaginal microbiome? Like I don't know if I'm even asking this question right, but like do you pick up what I'm throwing down?
Yeah, I'm totally
Okay.
picking it up. So I think you're just, well, one, you're wondering like, do people prepare for these things? And if they do, or if they do or don't, like, why would they be unsuccessful?
Yeah,
So
I'm just so curious.
yeah, that's also actually like a pretty loaded question. So I'm going to do my best to
Yes.
summarize it as well. But one, most people that come to me have already done everything. Like I have people that have
They've
done
done the
IVF,
IVF, they've done the IUI. Okay.
like
Wow.
not just like once or twice, like 4 to 6 times,
Failed.
right?
Okay.
So, like I said, I'm usually that person where they're like, we don't know what else to do. So, one coolest part about all of this, and I feel like I'm skipping so many steps, but I'm just like, I just love to share, is that people get pregnant naturally still. It's
Yes.
wild, right? They're like, how is this possible? But I'm like, the issues that IUI and IVF were focused on or fixing weren't your issues. Like, your egg quality is fine, your sperm is fine. The issue was possibly implantation, or once you did have implantation, how your body was reacting to that. How was your immune system? How was your
Mm,
thyroid? How was your well, usually they replace progesterone with like IVF and sometimes IUI, but like, where are these things? What about your vitamin D? What about your ferritin? What about your gut health? Do you have an underlying candida infection, right? Like, those,
mm,
candida is one of like the big things that I've seen linked to loss, like recurrent miscarriage. So like a
wow.
lot of times people can get pregnant, but I'll see a lot of loss with it. That is clinical knowledge. That's not like on a study. So I
Yeah.
can't quote a study from that, but I've just seen it.
Yeah.
So I do get a decent amount of clients now that it's becoming a little bit more well known, who now are trying to prep for either IUI or IVF. Um, I will say a lot of times they'll come to me and they'll be like, in 3 months, I'm doing this. And I'm like, I would like a little bit longer than that to treat you. If you've been, you know, trying for 2 years and then you're
Mm,
going to IUI or IVF, we need to do a lot more on your system probably before. So I usually am like, give me like 4 to 6 months before if you are considering those treatments. Because absolutely, I think it makes a big difference. I love this
yeah.
one story. She shares it all the time on social media, so I feel okay always sharing it. But she was told she needed a gestational carrier. She needed a surrogate. She had tried IVF
Wow.
6 times, all failed. She came to me. And I looked at her gut and it was a disaster. Like she had like bacteria overgrowth, candida overgrowth, parasites. Like she basically had almost everything you could have, right? And I was like, you need to give me like 8 months. Like, we need to heal your gut. She was like, okay. She's like, at this point, they're telling me I need a gestational carrier. Like, I'll do
Yeah.
anything.
I'll do
Right.
anything. Yep.
So she does it. We do this whole plan. One, she starts to feel better, right? She's like, I feel so good, which is great. And then she has 2 embryos left. And she's like, we're going to try them both because she had so many failed. Most of the time, they will only do one at a time nowadays. But they were like, okay, we're going to try both. Now she has twins. So it worked. And both of them took. So it was crazy. I did kind of give her a heads up. I'm like, by the way, your body's really different. Like, there's a lot higher chance that you have twins now, like this run. And now she does. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
That's so incredible. And twins too. I feel like this is the story I hear all the time. Like, this is not an outlier where it's like they've tried to get pregnant, try to get pregnant, trying to get pregnant, and then they end up getting twins. I'm
You
like,
hear me?
how is that even possible? So amazing.
So sorry you paused for a second, but it is one of my favorite stories. So thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, no, I love this story. I hear this like weirdly all the time. Like, I feel like I even have a past client who has had multiple miscarriages and got pregnant with twins. I'm like, is this a thing? Like, you just like struggle with getting pregnant, and all of a sudden God's like, bam, I'm gonna give you 2 babies, not one, but
I
two.
you too. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I know. And granted, so she did go back to the IVF route. So she waited so long to heal her gut and she paused basically like everything. And so she was like, I don't want to wait too long. I want to do the IVF one more time. And so she did. But yeah, it everything worked out really nicely. So
Wow. So, gut health, guys, everybody listening to this, matters more than you think. Okay, so let's go
yeah.
back to preconception care. So, if there's 3 tips that you could give somebody to make sure their gut is like functioning, what would those 3 tips be? And then also 3 warning signs. Because people also are like, well, I think my gut is okay. Like, what do I mean? Like, how do I need to prepare? So, what are 3 warning signs that people are like, okay, maybe I should do something? So, yeah.
Okay. So well one going back to coffee, right? If you
Oh,
need
shoot.
coffee to poop, if
There it
you
is.
can only poop if you drink coffee, you are constipated, for the
Okay.
record.
For the record, guys.
So, yeah, everyone's like, yeah, poop once a day. I'm like, now I have to ask, do you need coffee? Can you poop without coffee?
Mhm.
I've learned to ask that now. It's the amount of times people are like, oh no, I have to have my cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So we want you to be
Keeps me
able to poop
regular.
without. Yeah. Which honestly, out of all the things you can take to poop, like that's fine. But like, we don't want you to have to rely on coffee. Like, I want you to be able to have a bowel movement if you don't have a cup of coffee that day. Right.
Mm,
And then
okay.
also, if it makes it like super runny, that's probably also not ideal too, just for the record. But anyway, so if you are pooping once a day, you can still be constipated. So it also depends on like how much you poop. And I ask a lot of questions about that. What did your poop look like? All that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Um, you can poop once a day and it might be fine, but sometimes people are still constipated. So that is something to look into. Another one is like any skin, I would
Yeah.
say, like a red flag, any skin condition, rashes, eczema, psoriasis, chronic acne, things like that.
That's what I
That's
struggled with. That's what I
yeah,
struggle with. Yeah.
and it's like your gut health, like you might just need to treat your gut a few more times, right? Like I was saying, like
I
sometimes
think
it's just
so.
like takes 2 to 3 rounds, and
Yeah.
unfortunately that's the way it is. But gut health isn't just dependent on, okay, I healed it, we're done. You have to maintain it like anything else. Just like,
Yeah.
okay, for lifting weights, you need to lift weights to maintain the muscle mass that you've worked for your gut health. You need to eat fiber, you need to have good breathing exercise. Stress impacts your gut in a massive way. You need to sleep
Yeah.
a good amount, you need to move, you need to have mindful eating practices. Like, it's not just, I healed my gut, now I'm done, right?
Yes.
Which a lot of people like to think that, and unfortunately that's not the case, which I'm not saying you did, by the way. I
Yeah.
just
No,
like to
everybody.
emphasize, because the gut is way more complicated, I think,
Yeah.
and special than people realize. But okay, so I said, if you poop less than once a day, definitely a red flag. If you have any type of skin issue, also a red flag. And then
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the third one because there's so many things
Yeah.
that it could play into. I mean, obviously, like gas and bloating, but to me, like those are super obvious. Like if you're having like clear digestive symptoms, like, okay, we need to get your gut checked. But I'm trying to think of the tricky ones that like catch people, right? I think one
Mhm.
of them would probably be fatigue and brain fog. So
Okay.
I think people underestimate like if there's something going on in their gut, how much that can actually impact their brain. I know there's a kind of a trend for a little bit where like the gut's the second brain, but it really is, and it has
I
a lot
believe
of
it.
like yeah, like people talk about serotonin and dopamine and all of that. It can be really important. I gave you three unique ones, but like I said, the other ones are kind of obvious to me, like diarrhea, chronic constipation, bloating, gas, all of those, heartburn, chest pain, those are obvious. The other ones, I feel like a lot of them go under the radar. Another one
Mhm.
is getting sick a lot. Like getting sick a lot, I talked about the gut being 70% of the immune system. That could be your only red flag that you need to work on your gut health.
Wow.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people underestimate that one. They're just like,
Hmm.
"Oh, my immune system, my immune system." Well, it's like,
Like,
why? Like,
yeah,
how do you what are you doing for your immune system? Like, are you just taking, like, vitamin C? Or, like, what is it? Emergency? Like, oh my gosh, please do not rely on
yeah.
emergency.
Well, and it's also
Yeah,
like why you don't see other people doing that though. So clearly that's not optimal. Like you should be able to fight a lot of this off. I mean, exceptions I will say for like teachers or like
they're
nannies.
just
If
around
you're
little
around kids
critters
a
all
lot,
day.
or yeah, if you're around kids a lot, you have a different experience. But other than
For
that,
sure.
like as an adult, you should not be getting sick that often. Maybe a cold once or twice a year, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so when it comes to fertility and women are trying to get ready or I don't know, let's flip the coin here actually. So, like,
okay.
let's say women are done having kids.
Hmm.
How do they make sure because, like, there's not a lot of things that they're, like, looking for at this point. They're not like, "Well, I need to be ready to have kids in 6 months or 8 months or whatever." So how do women stay healthy, like, after having kids? Like, maybe perimenopause, menopause, do you work with women in those time? Because like, you're a hormone specialist, right? So,
Yeah,
what can they do? Like, if there's a listener listening to this and they're like, "Well, I'm not trying to be fertile, but, like, I'm trying to be healthy."
yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of the same things. It's gonna be the basics: diet, lifestyle, sleep. I haven't really talked about sleep that much, but sleep's like my favorite thing in the world. I'm like, if you don't have sleep,
Me
you don't have
too.
anything. Yeah, I'm like, sleep is everything. So, and as women, okay, another myth. I feel like you told me to come up with like one. I'm like, here's myth, myth, myth. Um,
Yes.
is sleep like that? Women and men need like almost the same amount. That's not true at
No,
all. Women need more for sure. And I tell people, like, well, if you just think about it, think about how much more complex our hormones are. Like, just think about it. Like, men, if you look at like a male chart, it like barely is budging their hormones. And then like ours is like, woo, right? Like,
literally.
we need more time for our body to rest and adjust. And it's just, we go through things differently. And
Mhm.
like, men sometimes feel great off like 7 to
5
8.
hours.
So, yeah, I was gonna say some men can even do like
Yeah.
6.5 and feel awesome.
Yeah.
I find it very rare or very surprising if a woman ever were to tell me that. I'm like, she's like, I need 7.5 hours, but I'm still tired. And I'm like, try 8.5 and tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
So sleep's gonna be a big one, whether you're preparing or you're in menopause. I used to work with a lot of people just with like all hormonal stages. I think I'm more fertility now just because that's just how it
Mhm.
grew.
Okay.
But there's so many amazing naturopaths out there that specialize in hormones as well. But there are a few ways that people will take care of perimenopause. One of them is HRT. That's really big, right? Hormone replacement therapy. So
Mm.
estrogen and progesterone therapy. Some will be put on testosterone. I know pellets are like a really big thing right now.
Yeah.
I personally am not a huge fan of all of that, specifically as like a first option. So
Mm.
I am a naturopath that I feel like a lot of naturopaths would like hate me for saying that because that's kind of some of the bread and butter, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't is because there's a therapeutic order that is like burned into my brain and my soul, and that is you treat at the base first and then you work your way up. So the base is going to be diet and lifestyle, then it's herbs and supplements, then it's medications and HRT that would be up here, and then it's like surgery. So to me, I'm like, when people come in, they have these symptoms and their hormones are off and they're just like, they jump there. I'm like, what are we doing? Like menopause, perimenopause is a natural part of life. Like that
Yeah.
is something that didn't happen like just cuz, right? That's like
Yeah.
part of
Human
aging,
nature. Yeah.
right? So I'm like, I think it's more so people get such extreme symptoms because of the life that they've lived and how they've prepared their body. Like living a
Mhm.
healthy lifestyle, I tell people all the time, is not just for now. Like I lift weights so I can stand up in a chair without assistance when I'm 80, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You lift weights now so you don't get osteoporosis later. Because by the time you
Mhm.
find out you have osteoporosis when you're older,
Too late.
which for people who don't know, yeah, it's like brittle bones. Too late, right? So it's
Mhm.
not like you're preparing your system now to process to go through menopause in a more gentle light. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying HRT is evil and bad. I think it can be a really great option for people who've tried everything and are miserable. Absolutely. But to me, if the hormones are off, there's a root cause and you can gracefully go into menopause. And if you're not even in perimenopause yet and your hormones are off or super low, that's a huge red flag to me that like something needs to change in your life, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's diet or lifestyle, or we have to find something chronic going on.
Well, I do know that, like, so there's a lot of talk about infertility and, like, the way we live our lives now and how that can set us up for aftermath of having kids and even environmental factors that we do right now. If you're not even having kids or don't want kids or whatever, and you're in perimenopause or menopause, like, there's so many things around us that can just influence our life. Like, I was reading the other day something about, like, fluorescent lighting and,
Mm-hmm.
like, women working a 9 to 5 job in fluorescent lighting all day long, sitting in a chair behind a computer screen, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, you're right, like, we were never meant to live this life, like, human beings were never meant to be these corporate human women beings, like, let's be honest, like,
Yeah.
women were never meant to do these lifestyles, and it's great that we've come so far and, like, so many women in business and, like, so much things have been created, and, like, I'm not saying anything, like, do not take this wrong, everybody, like, please do not, like, let's not go the wrong route with this conversation. What I am saying is that, like, the lifestyle we live to do these cool things as women in business, like, how much of that is, like, hurting us and
Yeah.
affecting our bodies.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're totally right. Fluorescent lights like mess with your cortisol and even like your eyes.
Yes.
I myself am always on my computer like all the time. I have to take like I literally call them like eye breaks. You're
Yeah.
supposed to do these things where you like look off to the corner for a little bit, like outside off your screen.
Yeah.
And then everything is set in my all everything's like orange now. Like
Yeah.
not orange, but like it's on night mode. My phone's
Yeah.
always on night mode. But that was because
Yes.
I started getting ocular migraines. I don't know if you know what
Yes.
that is, but they're like they can be
Yeah.
painful, but for me it's like all of a sudden you can't like see. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so I
I work
find
on
if
my
you don't know what
computer
it is.
too, so it's like I wear blue light blocking glasses. I've
Mm-hmm.
now switched my light bulbs in my house at night to red. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do everything, but it's like, why do we even have to do this? Like,
Yeah. But it's because it's just the world we've created. And unfortunately, like
yeah.
that world developed a lot faster than we ever will evolve, right? Like evolution
Mhm.
takes so long,
Yes.
right? Like we actually are probably pretty amazing in the sense of like how many things have changed and how well we actually are doing. If you actually want to look
Yeah.
at it from a different perspective, like
Yeah.
things change so rapidly and
Yeah.
we are still doing decent for
Yeah.
how shocking it would be to our systems. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, natural light when you can is great. Like I don't have any lights on in my office right now. I just have a window that's like directly sits in front of me, and that's what I put on all day
Yeah.
because otherwise I'm staring at a computer and then extra light.
No.
You gotta
Yeah.
you gotta find that balance. Yes, I would say fitting learning to fit the schedule of being like a busy business woman into the natural women flow and cycle is going to be important.
Yeah.
Um, and just like learning to plan out like honestly your calendar, even just knowing you, right? Like so some people talk about cycle syncing, which I think it can be great, but I also think it's kind of like
Yeah.
people forget the nuance of like, but everyone's different. Like some people actually feel really great in their luteal phase. Some people don't
Huh.
feel good in their follicular phase. Like everyone's different,
Yeah.
right? Some people feel good on their period. Like when they work out on their period, they feel amazing and they
Yes.
need to work out on their period to feel better. And if they're
Yes.
not, then they're not going to feel good, right? But you don't know that until you try to figure it out. Same thing with like
Mhm.
work. Like when are you feeling more creative? That's when you plan your creative tasks, right? When are you feeling um like a little bit more like I just need to like act like plug and chug. That's when you plan
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. And I know it can't always work out perfectly, but
Right.
that would be helpful and nourishing for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I love this conversation. So I want to ask a few more questions. One about because everybody listening to this probably has some type of menstrual cycle or maybe not. Maybe we've aged out and God bless you because we're all of us youngins down here are waiting for that time of our life. Um but what is a healthy 28 to 35 day or menstrual cycle? What does healthy look like for menstruation and then follicular phase and then ovulation and then luteal phase? Like, and this can be very general, but like when women are listening to this, that they want to be like, okay, well, am I healthy? Like, is my period long enough? Like, is how do I know I'm ovulating? How do I know I'm fertile? Like, what are those things look like for somebody?
Yeah. And I feel like if you Google it, like it will tell you what kind of is normal versus optimal. So
Right.
that's a great
Yes.
question. Optimal, I would say I don't necessarily like it shorter than 24 days.
Mhm.
Um, if that's been all your life, that's usually okay. I would love if it was like 25 and then like maybe 34 days on the long end. Um, Again, though, that is going to depend how you feel. So some people, I'm like, how are you feeling? And then we check in your hormones. And if it looks all good, I'm not going to really pressure about like days, for example, right?
Mhm.
But let's say you have a 26-day cycle, which could be totally fine for length, but then your bleeding is really, really heavy and you have clots that are bigger than a quarter and you get excruciating cramps. That's
Mhm.
probably not normal, right? Like those are, you have a regular cycle length, but then you have pretty extreme symptoms, right? You have heavy bleeding, you constantly have to change your tampon, and then you have these giant clots. Some people feel like they also have to have like multiple extreme symptoms to be an issue. So let's give another example of like a 27-day cycle, but you have mood swings that are so severe that you feel like you become a different person,
Oh my
5 days
gosh.
before your period, right?
Mhm.
That can be a sign of like PMDD or some issues with anxiety, but that can be showing me okay, maybe your estrogen and progesterone is imbalance because progesterone is actually really supposed to help with anxiety. It's supposed to calm the nervous system. And so, to be honest, I can give 1,000 examples, but what I would tell someone is if something interrupts your life in a major way in your cycle, you should talk to someone about it, right?
Mm.
I think it can be totally normal to feel a little bit more tired. I think it can be
Yes.
normal to feel some slight cramping, but it shouldn't make you completely it shouldn't take you out completely. You shouldn't have
Yeah.
to take the day off work. Maybe it's not your most optimal day, but like that's okay. I mean, you're shedding a lining. Like that's kind of intense. That would be tiring a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's just it shouldn't be super extreme.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of what I would look for. And normal is going to be ultimately, or optimal is going to be different for everyone. And you really have to
Yeah.
kind of listen to yourself. But I do find that like tracking is a really great way to start because the more you track, the more you learn about your body. And you can kind of figure out like, oh, actually, I didn't notice this, but my cycle is actually irregular. Do you know the amount of
Mm,
times I hear that? Like once people start tracking, they're like, I thought it was regular, but
yeah.
now it's like changes around 5 to 6 days every time. And like changing is okay, but like I usually say 2 to 3 days. 5 to 6 days is kind of, that's definitely
Big
irregular in my
deal.
mind,
Yeah.
right? But they had no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
So learning to track a little bit can give some information for you to start to learn more about your body.
I feel like women don't start tracking their cycle at all until, well, one, they're off of birth control because your cycle is not normal on birth control at all. And they don't even do that until they're off birth
Mm-hmm.
control. And then the other time of their life that they start to do it is if they're wanting to have a baby. And even then, sometimes they don't. So it's like, I feel like women at all times of their life should be tracking their cycle. I've been tracking mine since got off birth control since like 2018 or 2017. So it's like 6 years now or
Yeah,
seven
that's
years.
amazing. That's
Yeah. And
amazing.
it's like, I don't know what I would be doing. I mean, I have a pretty good idea of like where I'm at in my cycle because I've been doing it for so long, but it's
Right.
like, what do you mean you've never tracked your cycle before? Or like you didn't start until you had a baby, or like even then it's like then they don't. So for the woman out there that's like tracking her cycle, wanting to get pregnant, say got off birth control however many days ago or years ago or months ago, and they need to look for what they're looking for, ovulation, right? So when it comes to
Yeah.
tracking for ovulation, like, are you what's fertile and what's like maybe like a red flag where it's like, okay, maybe I should go to Dr. Sammy.
Yeah. So I like, well, first off, talking about another like blueprint myth or whatever is that like
Yeah.
you can't understand your body and it's like some random thing that comes once a month and you don't really know. Like you can
Or that you can
totally
get
hone
pregnant
in.
at literally any day of any
Right.
time.
Also that
And
you can get pregnant any day of your
yeah,
cycle. Actually,
I
this is
was
not
told
totally,
that. I believe.
yeah. Yeah, which is actually not totally untrue. Like there are people who can get pregnant on their period, but
How is
it
that
is
even
very
possible?
it is very, very rare. You can release an egg, but it is so rare, it's not even funny. So I don't want to freak out anyone with that. But if you are tracking with your temperature, you will know because
Yeah.
here's the coolest part. If you track with temp, your temperature will only rise if an egg has released and it is producing progesterone. Progesterone is the hormone that actually rises your temperature. So
Wow.
if you are tracking, even if you're on your period and your temperature goes up and it stays up, you will know that ovulation has somehow occurred. Again, that is very rare. That's usually happens after like if someone's breastfeeding or there's like some like hormonal piece
Mm,
taking place that's like your body's trying to figure out and regulate, right? Like
mhm.
usually that's a different issue, but and honestly anything can happen. You can there's people who actually even can get pregnant when they're pregnant. It's like a yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. So anyway, someone asked me, they're like, does I go, nothing is impossible. I've seen and heard it all, but
Wow.
I don't know why I got on that. I'm just like throwing random facts out there now. But
Well, I've never
long
heard that, so
story
that's
short,
insane.
yeah, I had to look it up because I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
But long story short, um, normally you can only get pregnant 6 days out of your cycle. That's it.
Mm,
That's what
yeah.
normally can happen. The other things I was just sharing were very extreme, so don't let it freak you out. The chances of
Yeah.
that happening is lower than even
Very
if you
rare.
get pregnant on birth control, for the record.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
getting pregnant on birth control has like that's a higher chance than the other things I was just stating. Um, but anyway, so you can get pregnant for 6 days. The temperature piece I already told you about. It's great to track your temperature. The problem with the temperature is you don't really necessarily know if you ovulated till afterwards. The nicest
Mm,
part about it though is it will tell you, it will continue to tell you what your regular ovulation is because most of the time you're going to ovulate within the same 2 to 3 days, if not the exact same day of your cycle every time. Temperature will rise the day after ovulation.
mm,
And then you can also track with cervical mucus. I usually encourage cervical mucus tracking and temperature.
mhm.
Cervical mucus is going to look a little white, clear, egg white. Some people will put it between their fingers and stretch it. Normally, you can either see it in your underwear. I will say, as you get older, it does change. It does reduce. So some people, I
Mm,
tell them to like kind of insert a finger to see. But
yeah.
ultimately, temperature is probably the best and easiest. Some people will just track with like an app, but it's really hard to tell if you're actually ovulating and when you're
Yeah.
doing it just by like inputting the days.
Yeah.
So, but
What about like
yeah,
LH
only
testing, LH strips, right?
great question. So LH strips can be good for those who have a really regular cycle. It can be really confusing though for other people. They'll test like positive like multiple days and they'll be like, I'm not really sure, or they won't test positive at all, but they're still ovulating because everyone's LH threshold is going to be different. And LH can
Mm,
also spike at different points of your cycle. So it can cause some confusion. So they're not terrible, and if they're pretty accurate for you, you would know because the more you do them, the more you'll see like, oh yeah, like this pretty much every day, every time on the day 13 it spikes, which means day 14 I'm ovulating, right?
wow.
So they're fine for some people, but temperature is still going to be my favorite always.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. That's super helpful for anyone listening. If you haven't temperature checked, try it or tracked.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
try
have
it.
I have a free guide on how to do it on my
Oh,
Instagram. So
okay.
yeah,
Yes, go
it
get it
has
on
all
her
my favorite
Instagram.
tracking devices and everything.
Yeah. So I find that funny because I'm like, what if I'm just like really hot that night? Like, I feel like when I'm about to get my cycle or like in the late luteal phase, I'm like, I'm always hot. Like, I have to like turn my AC down even more. I'm like, does that impact your? And we live in Arizona. It's
Uh-huh.
150,000 degrees. Like, does that affect anything? Is that like give you anybody false positives or anything? Do you know?
Well, you're actually warmer because if you're in your luteal phase, you've already ovulated and you have your progesterone, which has already caused the temperature to rise. So you are
Mm,
actually warmer, which
okay, makes
also
sense.
you need more calories in your luteal phase. Most people don't know this, but
Oh,
you burn like 200 to 300 more calories in the luteal phase. Eat up. I
let's
tell people if you're feeling,
go.
I go if you're feeling anxious in the luteal phase, sometimes you really do just need a snack
Just go get a snack.
because
I
you
love
burn
that.
so much more. 200 to 300 calories, like that's a lot
Yeah,
more if you're
yeah,
normally being like careful about tracking at all or anything like that. So
yeah.
yeah, no, a lot of people need
My
just more
God.
like protein, a little bit more calories. So if you're actually feeling really hungry in your luteal phase, it's because you're burning
I
more
am.
calories.
I'm definitely more
Mhm.
hungry in my luteal phase for sure.
Yeah. But yes, back to your question. So temperature, if there's extenuating factors in sense of like you're sick, you had stress, you drank alcohol, you went to bed a lot later, those can change your temperature. But overall, it's probably not going to happen every single day within that phase, right? So odds are you're still
Mhm.
going to get a pretty accurate reading overall.
I
Also,
love
there's
that.
temperature trackers that like you can have on at night. Like I love the temp drop. Um, there's
Yes.
also ones where you can just do a cheaper thermometer that you can do, but that one's going to be a little less accurate because it's going to be pretty hard to remember to roll over and take it every single morning before you do anything else.
Yes.
Including like if you wake up to go pee at like 5:30 in the morning, you're going to want to actually take your temperature then versus
How
like
annoying.
yeah. So that's why it's nice to like have something that you're wearing throughout the night.
Yeah. I've looked into the temp drop. I think I might get it. I have like the little ring already, but I'm like, I think the temp drop sounds easier too. So,
The ring is nice and people do use it and it's on my little tracker thing and I'm like if you have it like and you want to use it
yes.
awesome. I would say temp drop might be a little bit more accurate just because it sits here so the temperature is going to be a little bit more um
Okay.
and honestly I feel like for some people like for you you might love all that data, for some people it can be really overwhelming, and so I
Mhm.
try to give them something that doesn't have like a million different things to read
Yes.
about
Just
on
track
there.
your temperature. That's it. Love that.
I think temp drop does sleep too, but I don't even look at my sleep on there. I was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to be biased to like, I don't want to think I feel tired by looking at it.
Literally. I know that a lot of people do that for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, last question. So I'm going to ask every single person on this podcast this question. What's one rule, piece of advice, or a small blueprint that you were told to follow as a little girl or as a woman now that you've since thrown out, and what have you replaced it with?
I know I've been thinking about it, and then I feel like I said also so many things about like what I would have changed and done already. Oof, this is hard because it's like medically or just like in life. But I think
Yeah.
I'm like really leaning towards like this can be medical and life. And I
Yeah.
feel like we're always taught to just kind of like do as we're told. And
Yes.
I think learning to ask the question why is really important. And
Mhm.
like I said, we already touched on that a little bit in the sense of like, when you were like, oh my God, like people have been saying don't drink coffee, but like no one's really
Why?
talked about why.
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to ask why. I go, if someone doesn't know the answer, they shouldn't be telling you to do XYZ.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Why is such a fair question. And I feel like is empowering, and it will lead you to not only better medical decisions, but just like better decisions in life, period. Right?
Literally. This was literally something I talked about on, I think, my first or no, my third episode, when I'm talking about like a framework for living your life, a part of No Blueprint, and building your own. And it literally comes down to that. It's like, you sometimes you don't have to know the questions to ask, but you can literally follow up any answer from a doctor, from a friend, from a colleague, your partner, with why. Like, why do you think that is? Or why are you saying that? And it's like, you don't have to have all of the answers or all of the knowledge or anything, but if it's like, you need to understand what someone's telling you. You can't just take everything at surface value and like, just, yep, that is the way the cookie crumbles. It's like, no, like,
Mm-hmm.
everybody is different. Every practitioner is different. Every doctor, every physical therapist, every dentist, every whatever. Like, there's good and bad, and everyone has their own training, own advice, own opinion. And so if you just take that person's opinion, advice, medical knowledge as fact, like, it's going to be a hard life. So I
Yeah.
love that you said that.
Yeah, I mean, I tell my patients to ask me all the time, and on my like
Mhm.
treatment plans, I have why. It's listed. I'll be like for XYZ, and then most of the time there's like, I really try to make sure that it's communicated, and sometimes I don't want to overshare because that
Yeah.
can be overwhelming for people. But like, asking that question. I mean, even we were talking about like the normal cycle. If
Yeah.
someone looks at your labs and you don't feel good, but they're like, everything is normal, you can be like, why? Explain to me
Yeah.
why you're telling me this looks normal.
Yeah.
Is it the lab value? Is it what you think about my cycle? Like, why are you even considering that? Or why is that a conversation right
It's so
now?
important.
Yeah.
I love
So,
that.
yeah, kind of medical advice, kind of just life advice.
Yeah, both, honestly. Like, you're gonna get so much further in life when you understand things. And it just go through life curious. You should be. Otherwise, it's just
Mhm.
like you're like la da da through life, which is cool. Like, I want to live in la la land too, but like, sometimes you gotta like make really hard decisions, and you need to be prepared for those decisions and the consequences of your decisions. And if you don't understand, then you can't get mad at yourself. Like,
Yeah.
don't you can't beat yourself up if you didn't take the chance on yourself to even understand in the first place. So
Yeah.
I love that.
No. Yeah. Great. Well, I'm glad I came up with a good one.
All right,
It's like
Sammy,
it's such a
thank
big
you
question.
so much for being on the podcast today. I've learned so much. I've worked with you. You're one of my great friends here in Scottsdale. Like, I just value the work that you're doing and the women that you're helping. So, where can people find you on the internet? Because I know that you are working with everybody virtually too.
Yeah, I know. Us virtual girls, gals.
Let's stick
So
together.
I know. So walk the natural path, like on any platform, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I would say I'm probably most active on Instagram. So I have people like shoot me a DM, but if you want like direct contact with me, the quickest response time, I would definitely click my new patient form on my website, which is also just walkthenaturalpath.com. It is all one word. Um, but yeah, I have a ton of free resources like the tracking guide, a semen analysis guide. I have just tons of information that I think can just be even helpful in just starting your journey with trying to prepare your body. So please check that
Yeah.
out. And again, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast.